worked over there for almost 3 years. And I got to Pakistan because of my experience in working in international missions. I first worked in Kosovo for a year. I was then worked in Jordan, and from there I progressed on to Pakistan. This is a map of Pakistan just to kind of orient you a little bit. It's surrounded by India, China, Afghanistan, and Iran. There's always been trouble between Pakistan and India. Up in the northern part, Kashmir, nice area of the country up there, but they are back and forth. It's called the disputed area of Kashmir. And India has problems with them. China, up to the very north, China has a good working relationship with Pakistan. They are in fact trying to build a road all the way from the top of Pakistan to China down to the Warada, where they have already built a seaport, because China's kind of landlocked. And they're working fast and furious to accomplish that. Iran, right there, they call that little part there, the Parrot's Beak of Pakistan, sits in a very peculiar place there. I went over as border security advisor for Pakistan, namely the FATA area, which is the area up around in the northern part there on the Afghan border. Pakistan gained their independence in 1947, so they're a relatively new country, if you will. They have approximately 190 million people, and it's divided. The country is divided into 4 sections, basically 5 sections. 4 of those sections would be like states, or like in our United States here. The other section is called a tribal area, federally administered tribal area. And it's that section of the country that I was basically responsible for from a law enforcement standpoint of trying to help them set up training and things like that. And so I just want to give you that map, let you look at it so you kind of get familiar with what we're talking about. One of the first things we did when I got over there was try to develop some kind of a rapport with the leaders who work in the FATA or tribal area. This is 4 out of 7 of what we call political agents. And those political agents have lots and lots of power in the FATA or tribal area. In the tribal area, they have the authority to, in any matters that come before them, they can have you shot, beheaded, they can have limbs cut off, they can have your house burned, they can make you pay money for a blood libel where you might have accidentally killed another member of your tribe or another tribe. So they have lots and lots of authority there, which makes them very, very powerful men. Don't want to make these guys mad, because they don't have any constitution in the tribal area. What they say goes. This is just a sort of a picture of Pakistan, Peshawar, which is the northern city that our training was taking place in for the most part. This is in what they call a settled area, and it borders the FATA area, which is called an unsettled area. I don't know where they got those terms from, but I guess it's because of the lawlessness there. And you really can't go into those areas too much without having a lot of issues with possibly Taliban and or Pashtun who reside in that particular area. This is one of the helicopters, but they do have some modern equipment in pockets of Pakistan. And that is all well and good for the most part, but generally what happens, is that a pretty sophisticated piece of equipment there, you think? It takes lots of maintenance to keep that puppy up in the air. They kind of fall down on that area. They want them, they want to come over here and train how to fly them, but then when they go back, the maintenance, which is a very important part in a mountainous, deserty area, is very critical, and they kind of forget that part. So these things do not last too long. This is a group of people that we work with on training. I put this particular shot in there. These guys are very dedicated to what they do. Okay? This building, as you can see, is a corrugated tin building, got a tin roof. It's got one fan right up there in the center. There is no air conditioning. Okay? So it's very, very hot. It's probably 110 degrees outside the day that I took that particular photograph, so you know what's going on inside. They're crowded in there, they're sweating, but they're there to try to learn. They have They've had issues with the Taliban. They've had issues with the Al-Qaeda. They tell stories about how their families have been hurt and bothered by the Taliban and killed in a lot of cases, and horror stories that I won't repeat here, but just terrible stuff that's going on. And these guys want to do something about that. So you have to admire them for that. This is another picture of them training. This is the actual classroom. Out under the trees, guys. No, they don't have classrooms for everybody. So they're sitting out there. Even if they had classrooms, these guys, since they're training anti-terrorism unit members, that's probably where they're going to train anyway. But they want them in that real environment. So they would train them like that. This is some more anti-terrorism training that we were trying to get conducted. This was going on in the south part of Pakistan, which is a lot flatter, more deserty than up in the northern part. The guys in the back with the guns and the brown pants, they are the people that are in training. The other guys are actors and part of the training process. These guys are good. We didn't have to learn we didn't have to train them how to fight, guys. They got an innate ability to do that. Most of them are out in the mountainous area and they grow up like that. So it wasn't that. The bigger problem we had was trying to train them in tactics. Here we are expecting some advanced terrorism team training. For those of you that, if you can see it that well, these guys have good trigger control. Their finger's not on the trigger. It's upside where it should be. That's important. This is women's lib, Taliban style, or tribal style, if you will. This guy's pretty wide. This is another photograph of being inside the tribal area. Notice all the great infrastructure, the paved roads and everything there. This guy right here, don't know him at all, but we look at his sandals, lets us know those sandals were made for the Taliban. Now whether he's Taliban or not, can't tell you that for sure, but the sandals indicate that he probably is, because they make very rugged footwear because they're all over those mountains and all over that territory up there. So they need a rugged pair of shoes. This is just some children rummaging through a trash pile, if you will, there inside the Bada area. And guys, you can't go here unless you've been invited. Okay? If any of us tried to get in there and they caught us, you'd probably get killed, because that's an area, even that the people in the settled areas of Pakistan cannot go into that area without protection or without being invited in there. It's very sparsely populated. It's probably 40 to 60% of that part of Pakistan is inaccessible. That's why all the Taliban, all the Al-Qaeda, they're running back and forth across the Afghan border, which is about 1,500 miles in there. Can we stop that? Absolutely not. There's no way. These guys here, actual levy members, they have very little schooling. Matter of fact, that was the first meeting that any of them's ever had with an American. And we needed to meet with these guys because if we were going to develop a training program, we needed to know how and what kind of training, how long the training they had, if any. 3 of these guys had had training. They'd been trained by the military. And guess what they trained in? Heavy machine guns, light machine guns, hand grenades, and rocket launchers. These guys would go and respond to that, but we needed something a little bit more for them to be able to, sort of a community policing aspect in one term, but they weren't in the communities, and it was real hard for them because they were not trained. They didn't know what to do. They didn't have the equipment. We said, well, what happens when you go on patrol? You know, we're thinking, go out, jump in a patrol car. They didn't have patrol cars. Okay? They walk, they patrol. They might have 5 in a squad, and one of them might have an AK-47, and one of them might have 8 bullets. And the others didn't have anything. But they were required to be out there, be on patrol, because that's what they were supposed to do. And so we were trying to analyze all this to be able to provide equipment that they could use, give them the proper tools where they could do a job and not be killed and all. So we were teaching these guys about ambushes, counter ambushes, and things like that, contrary to what we teach here in criminal law and in our law enforcement training here in the United States. But those were the things these guys needed to be able to just survive, possibly survive, because the Taliban are trained very good. Women voting, Islamabad. These women were allowed to come in and vote right after Bhutto was assassinated, and she was assassinated in the last part of December of 2007. They had voting not too long after that. I got assigned to Rawalpindi, which is the area where she was actually assassinated, to monitor elections. I kind of felt out of place, being the only American in that area. But it went very well. All the voting precincts I went to seemed to go pretty orderly. This is the men standing in line to vote. Everybody was orderly, no problems. Of course, you got police everywhere, but nobody was trying to keep them from voting, which is important from a democratic standpoint. Here they are counting the votes. I don't know if you can see it very well, but on the green sheets of paper, that's actually a ballot. But it was very orderly. I mean, these guys squat around and count these votes, and there was no issue. This is some of the graduates of our first levy class. These were the first levies that have been trained since the British Raj in 1947. This little gentleman right here with the glasses looks like he could be in any college USA. Okay, this is some additional graduates of the Levy Security Forces. Not the little guy and not the old guy, but those other few people there in the class there that graduated on the first class. Does anybody have any questions they would like to ask?
I'm just amazed that they allow you to take any of those pictures.
Well, they let us take pictures because we had to tell them we would not publish them in any kind of publication or anything over there. Because if the folks up in the levee area where these guys work, they wouldn't even take equipment unless it had USA written on it anywhere. Because if they got caught with that, they'd kill them. Yes, sir.
So is there still active things like that happening now in Pakistan?
Absolutely.
Training type of thing?
Yep. Yep. There's still training going on there. We're still training these guys. We're building anti-terrorism training sites and things like that. So yes, I'm just not there. But that program is still going on. Yes, ma'am?
Well, with the knowledge that you said that the Taliban use these trainings to their advantage, I mean, is there anything they're doing now that counters that? I mean, it's kind of tough, I'm sure.
It's kind of hard.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if you're not a Taliban, your uncle is. And all these tribes over there are intermarrying. And what happens is, you know, a person from another tribe marries my daughter. He's Taliban. They've now got kids, so those are my grandkids. And there's a very strong code of honor up there called Pashtun Wali. And that code means that they will not divulge you that Bin Laden, you know, was so able to do what he did. Nobody was going to turn him in. You know, you're saying, well, $25 billion is a lot of money. Not to them. Not to them. Because that code of honor is much stronger than that. One of my friends that I work with in the National Police Academy, superintendent, he was a tattoo, and he said, Glenn, I could take you to my tribe, and in the tribal area, I would die defending you being there. I would die defending you being there, because that's an honor thing for me. But if you looked at my sister the wrong way, I'd kill you. Just like we were talking about going to another piece of toast or something. I mean, that's just how strong.
What do you find? What do you find the difference between Bosnia, like being there, the culture, and then being in Pakistan?
Well, I wasn't in Bosnia. I was in Kosovo.
Kosovo.
Yeah, and I was in Jordan. But Kosovo was probably not quite as dangerous. Pakistan was pretty dangerous. I mean, I was teaching class one day, and suicide bomber hit the anti-terrorism training center next door, blew out windows in our classroom, that kind of stuff. So it was a dangerous place to be, because you never knew, you know, and all. But and it still is, guys. You still got the Taliban over there. You still got the Al Qaeda over there.